Hello and welcome to Romantacy Readers Podcast. My name is Nicole and as always, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Ali. We are having a wine night and afternoon today because we are celebrating a very fun book, a book we were looking very forward to getting the sequel of, and that is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. We absolutely adored the first book, Bride. But Ali, maybe you want to talk about it because this was one of your favorite books from last year, I believe.
Yes, so Bride was my number one favorite book last year. Absolutely adored it. So I was like frothing at the mouth for this like second book in the series. We'll talk a little bit about what I thought about it, but I was super excited to get it. So maybe we should just do a little kind of spoiler free before, kind of what is Bride about, what is Mate about. We don't have to do that right now, but before we get too much into spoilers, because I do think that a lot of people read it, but I also do encounter a lot of people who haven't read it yet. So.
Well, and I think it's quite interesting because, obviously for you, it was one of your favorite books of last year. And yet I've heard many people that have said that they didn't love Bride. They weren't that impressed with the first book, which I found quite interesting because even for me, I quite enjoyed it. I loved the characters. I loved the banter. I loved the self-deprecating sort of style that Ali brings to these characters in this world and this story. So it did actually come as a surprise to me that some people really didn't find this to be one of her best works. But yeah, have you heard anything like that at all?
I have. I do wonder though if those people are maybe her like typical contemporary romance readers, and then they read Bride and they were like, "Whoa, this is a little too much paranormal world building type of stuff." I don't know. I mean, I could easily see a world, right, where you're a romance reader and so you didn't love it because it was just like too fantasy, but I could also see a world where you're like a really intense romantasy reader and didn't like it because it didn't have enough world building, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe see both sides. It is kind of this like very interesting genre for
Yes.
her, but I thought Bride was incredibly well done. Just in true Ali Hazelwood style, every single scene is important and matters, and it just, the craft of it is incredible and makes me think that I
For
need you to be
me,
in
the
neuroscience.
the internal dialogue. I just love
Yes.
Ali's sort of self-deprecating yet intelligent, witty style, and I just can't get enough of it. And I thought she really shined in these two books. I do think possibly, and some people who love the werewolf genre, I have friends who adore the werewolf genre, and they are deep in it. So for them, this feels probably very light and romancy, where they'll probably go, "This isn't heavy enough." And then obviously, as you said, for romance readers, they may go, "Oh, like I'm not used to this werewolf style. This is very new. There are things like nodding and things that I've never heard of before. I don't know how to feel about that." So whether it was a lot for both sides and it's only those few like us that kind of sit in the middle and are really flexible either way, because I know I felt that way a little bit with Deep End. I've obviously read quite a few dark romance novels. There are some that I love. There are some that are way too much for me. And I found it, compared to other dark romances that I've read, to probably not deliver as well as others.
Deep End too. Yeah. I 100, like Deep End was not my favorite Ali book ever.
No, me either.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, it was a good read, right? Like again, you're never going to say that it's a bad read, but it was not my favorite book of hers.
No.
And so I can totally see how people would feel that way about Bride and Mate. And so maybe for readers, listeners who don't know what these are. So Bride they're both kind of werewolf books. Bride is like a forced kind of marriage type of thing. So in this world, there's vampires, werewolves, and humans. And in the first book, the kind of daughter of like a very prominent vampire family agrees to marry the alpha of this wolf pack to just kind of like seal a treaty, because they're people, the wolves and the vampires are kind of tenuous. So it's to seal this treaty. And so sort of like a forced proximity, forced marriage type of trope. And people, she doesn't expect to even really
consummate your marriage.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that she ends up like, even as a vampire, being his mate. And so, it's really, really fun. And there is actually a lot of like in Bride, there's a lot of like kind of politics between these different
Yeah, there is. And there's just, yeah.
it's really interesting. Yeah.
And then there's also just a really good slow burn, and there's this great banter. Because as I say, what both these books do really well, where I feel like Ali just excelled in this, was that internal monologue and the witty banter between the characters, between Misery and Lo in book one, and their back and forth, and then the other characters, and just learning about this world. And I think the only feedback I've ever had that I felt was a little negative on these worlds was just the blood. I always just felt weird about the fact that she made it that like the vampires have mulberry colored blood, and then the werewolves have green blood and humans have red blood. And I was sort of just like, that's the only thing that I was like, I feel like that's too far. Like, I can't imagine this green blood. That's just weird. Just make it red blood. Like other things. But anyway, that's just like a small gripe. I can easily move on from it because everything else is done with such a witty, funny way that even though they're dealing with these fairly serious situations in the book, they're always delivered in this really lighthearted manner that makes it really light and enjoyable and just allows you to just enjoy this really fun werewolf vampire romance.
They are rom-coms in the truest sense of the word, but with just like a little extra world building, and just really good. And then Mate, we won't do too many spoilers right now, but Mate is more of a true kind of werewolf. It's a hybrid. So Misery, the main character from book one, her best friend, is a hybrid werewolf, Serena, and she ends up the mate of the Lo's best friend. So it's kind of two best friends, so they're both kind of standalone. I do think you need to read Bride first. I don't really even though they are technically standalone, I really think you need the context and the world building that you get from Bride in order to read Mate. So I think if you haven't read them and you're like, oh, I just really like werewolf books, maybe I'll just read the kind of more true werewolfy book. I don't think you should. I think you should read Bride first.
Yeah, I agree. Even if, look, they're both on Audible, they're great audiobooks. Listen to it at 1.7. You can always get through it really quickly so that you can get to the second book. But for me, I felt like the book 2, Mate, I felt like it was even better. I really enjoyed it. I loved the first one, but then I loved the second one even more. And I've seen a lot of reviews since telling people read book 2. Like if you're thinking you weren't going to read it, or even if you heard bad things about book 1, push through it to get to book 2. So
I did not like book 2 as much. I'll just
interesting.
I did not think that Mate was as good as Bride. Mate, to me, like top tier, gonna always be one of my favorite books of all time. Mm-hmm. Mate was not there for me. Still a 5-star read, but not as good for me.
See, I feel differently. I just maybe it's been a little bit of time, but I just loved this. I ate this up. Everything about it. I loved Cohen and Serena together, their banter. And then we had Misery coming in from the sidelines, giving her banter as well. I just ate it up and just devoured this thing. I enjoyed it so much. It was such a fun time. Okay, but quickly, before we go any further, we have to do what we always do every week before we start an episode, which is, what are you reading this week, Ali?
Yeah. I feel like listeners are going to be like, dear God, Ali, it has taken me so long to get through this Daniel Jensen book. But I am still trying to read the Daniel Jensen book. So I can't even remember what it's called. It's the 6th Bridge Kingdom book.
Twisted Throne? Wait.
No, that's number 5.
Oh my God, even I've forgotten now. The Tempest Blade. Tempest Blade is further back.
It's so long. And so I finally was like, this is taking forever. I want to read Mate. So I went and like read Mate, listened to Mate, and now I'm back trying to finish the Daniel Jensen book, but I only have 45 minutes left to go in that. Ooh. And I have downloaded Caught Up, which is the second Lights Out book. So that is going to be my next read. So hopefully next time we record, I will actually have a book that I've been reading. What have you been reading?
So fun. Well,
quicker than I am lately.
Yes, I just downloaded, because I saw a review about it, Diabound. So I'm going to give that a try. I haven't started that yet. I'm reading The Ascended, but I've actually been in my monster era with movies and TV shows at the moment. I just watched Frankenstein. I watched Have you watched Frankenstein yet?
I haven't watched it yet.
You have to. It's so good. It is like
it's on my watch list for sure. I'm like super excited about it.
It is classic cinema. I've even been watching the way that Guillermo del Toro actually made it, and he made everything physically. He didn't use any AI. He was like, I want this to be like the heyday of modern cinema, where everything is real. Every special effect is a real person being thrown off something and this and that. And just, the emotion at the script. Firstly, the script was beyond. Like, if you are a fan of Blade Runner, if you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, like that whole exploration of what makes a person, what makes a soul, what makes you, who you are, that's all explored in this. And the level of the depth of the script is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. It's also visually stunning. Like the cinematography, like honestly, if you've got a big screen or a big TV, watch it on that, because it's visually just so beautiful. And then the monster, like, it is such a heart-wrenching.
Well, played by Jacob Elordi, right?
Oh my God, Jacob Elordi. And he just wants to be loved. He just wants to be loved, you know?
Yeah. I want to watch it. I'm deep in drafting mode for book 2 of my book series. So Witch Queen readers, you want me to not be reading as much, and you want me to not be watching movies, because that would be taking away from drafting time.
What I will say though, okay, it's 2.5 hours, so it's a long watch, but I was mesmerized.
I like knowing before I get into a movie, like
and it's mesmerizing. But what's funny is, like, so I'm writing my own book very, very slowly, guys. You don't need to, like, don't hold your breath. It'll take a while. But it actually motivated me to write more. The way that this script was delivered, the beautiful prose that he used, I just was like, this is what cinema used to be. This is what we used to be delivered. And it actually inspired me to write more. It actually inspired me to go, yes, I love this depth of the characters and everything. So I don't know, for me, it actually gave me motivation. So maybe it will do the same for you, and it'll only continue you in your drafting mode.
I'm excited. It's definitely on my list. I want to watch it for sure. My husband and I did a bunch of Final Destination movies for like Halloween. Like, that was our spooky movies. But like, we're still kind of watching some spooky movies. So I bet we'll watch it soon. I definitely have been wanting to watch it. I heard a rumor. I don't know, heard a rumor. I saw a post on social media that Guillermo del Toro has now announced that he's going to do a Phantom of the Opera, which I
saw that.
am losing my mind over, because I love Guillermo del Toro. I love, to your point, the way that he does things. And I do feel that of like the kind of popular sort of dark, gritty kind of directors who are men, he gets romance. Like, more than many of the like really big, popular kind of Oscar bait male directors. So I feel like he would do Phantom of the Opera
so good. I do as well. I actually saw this great, because I've been a bit obsessed ever since watching Frankenstein. I watched a interview, and he was talking about how much he loves the female perspective, and how he actually feels like he has quite a deep understanding of the female psyche as well as the male. And so I guess it's why I don't like that. I know. It's nice that he's at least wanting to like explore that side of things as well. I think he comprehends the romance, the tragedy, and exploring that. He doesn't just shift over that and just be like, oh, let's just do action. Let's just, he actually explores these deeper aspects of the characters and the character exploration, which I think is really, really nice. But speaking of spooky movies, I happened to watch one the other night. It happened to be on TV, and I don't even think I realized this movie was out. And then I saw it. It was so good. I was like, how have I not known that this movie exists, and how have I not watched it? And that was Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. It only came out in 2019. I don't know if you've heard of this before. Yeah. It's like one of those movies. It's got Ewan McGregor. It's got, what's the female actress? She was like in June. She's massive actress. She plays the mother in June. She's super just in everything that's like really high caliber. And this was such a good movie, and such a perfect sequel to The Shining. It's sort of set about 40 years after The Shining took place. And it had such a Stanley Kubrick style to how they did it. And this movie was actually like, I was just engrossed. And I was like, wow, how did I not know this movie's been out for 5-6 years and I've never heard of it, never seen it, and it's actually so good.
Me neither. My husband is a big film guy, I'm sure, and he listens to all of our podcast episodes. Hi, babe. He's gonna be listening to this and being like, "Are you kidding me, Allie? Are you kidding me? You don't know about Dr. Sleep." I am sure, because he just like loves movies. So anyway,
if you're having a creepy movie night, I would definitely recommend it. It was great. Just
a lot of the time, like Dan will watch a movie and then I'll just like read during the movie, and then I can like kind of take the movie in, you know, like I have a really like people who say that you can't actually multitask, like I just don't believe them, because I truly can. Like I can read a book and still take in the broad strokes of a movie.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
almost need to multitask during a horror. Like I went through a horror era when I was younger, but now I have like very little tolerance for it. I don't want to be unable to sleep, but this story was so engrossing that I couldn't help but watch it. And most of it isn't scary. It was only probably the very end that got into the creepy, scary haunted hotel mode of The Shining. Before that, it was more just, I don't want to say thrillery, but it was kind of thriller horror. It wasn't that real level of horror that you got from The Shining till the very end. But once that kind of kicked in, I was like, oh, better pull out my phone. I just need to like flick through Instagram while I watch this because I don't want to not be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. All right.
That's funny. Shall we talk about the book now?
I think so. I think we've let people know plenty now. I'm sorry, I don't have many books for you guys this week. It is all about movies, but let's jump into Mate by Ali Hazelwood. So I think we've given a bit of a basic rundown of the summaries of both these books. And I think for everyone, I'm hoping for everyone now, if you're continuing from here, you have read these books. We are going to be going into spoilers. So if you haven't...
We'll probably talk about both. Yeah.
Exactly. So leave now. Otherwise, we are getting into it. So what are your first thoughts on Mate and on the main characters, Serena and Cohen? How do you feel about sort of the dynamic and development through this book?
So I will say the Cohen and Serena are what like made the book for me. They are so good. Their dynamic is amazing. I love that Cohen is a little bit older, but not like a creepy amount too old. Like I'm not
36 is perfect.
Yeah. You know, I like 10-year age gap. Good. Like, and I like that she's like 26, you know, like she's getting a little bit older. She's not like, it's not like 21 and 36 or 21 and 41 or something. Like, again, no shame to
we're used to 500 and 20.
I know. But I like that, you know, so he's a little bit older, which comes into play in like him being an alpha and like bossing her around and things. I really like that, and like taking care of her. I love their dynamic, for sure. So like for me, again, still not as good as Bride, mostly for the plot. I'm just gonna be honest with you. The plot was really hard for me to get behind. But the character dynamics, the two of them, their banter, like the when will they finally give in, you know, kind of dynamic of it all, amazing. Absolutely loved it. It's there's these two sides of me, right? When I'm reading, there's my like intellectual Allie, and then there's my like base, you know, like I just, you know, like
vibes reader.
Right? Yeah, it's my vibes reader. And for this one in particular, it was just really hard to shut up my intellectual Allie.
All right.
I just struggled.
Outline it to me. What was it about the plot of Mate that you didn't like?
Okay, I know that this is a trope in werewolf books, and so like truly no shame, right? Like you like what you like. That is our romantasy reader, like whatever. You can read whatever you like. You can love what you love.
Yeah.
You can love what you love. And you should love what you love enthusiastically. The whole concept of like her going into heat. It's too much for me. So like this is why Nicole and I had to bring wine tonight. Mine is like filled with ice cubes because that's how I drink my white wine. Don't judge me. I needed to have a little wine to be able to talk about this. And it wasn't like, so number one, that just like kind of was like, oh, I wish they had continued to use the scientific term for it. I think if they had used that like estrel, or I can't remember,
estri or whatever they called it. Yeah.
Whatever, like the scientific term, I think it would have been a little bit better. But the number of times that they referred to it as heat and her going into heat, I just could not deal with. And then again, I generally find Ali Hazelwood plots to be very intelligent, very smart, no holes whatsoever. And I'm sorry, but it just is a massive plot hole to me that nobody figured out that she was like, this is like this common thing amongst werewolves, and nobody figured it out. Like, come on.
Yeah, that wasn't the first. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one because I even said that to you earlier. It was like the one thing that got to me was I was like, that wasn't the first thing that came to their heads when she came in with symptoms. Like that wouldn't be, or wait, you're not in heat, are you? Like this is something that Blair would go through.
It's so easy to solve that too. Just make sure the doctors don't know that she met her mate. Easy, right? But like the doctor talks to her. The very first doctor, the one that like has diagnosed her with this androgen disorder, talks to her about her mate. So like, how does he not like? So it was such an easy plot hole to sort of fix. That
I think for starters, I think you don't have to have a mate to go into heat. You can actually go into heat
that makes it even worse.
At any time. I think what they needed to point out was that hers was different to other werewolves, because basically when she does talk to the doctor, who finally, I just read this part today, so I'm really up to date with it, guys. I'm down with it. They talk about that it's quite rare for it to happen when you're in human form. Like normally it happens in werewolf form, and even then it seems like it's a relatively rare thing, but it can happen to any sort of females, but often it is when you are with a very desirable mate or like partner that they will actually go into heat. So it's not like a typical dog that might go into heat twice a year, because I think that's what we would all kind of think about is in real life, like, you know, animals going to heat can happen quite often. Obviously, in this world, in the werewolves, it's a rare thing and only occasional ones will have it. It's not something thought about. But I think what she needed to add there was making it a rarer thing that was completely confused because she had different symptoms because she is this hybrid. I think like when she just came out and they're like, oh, I licked you and realized you were in heat. It was like, they didn't think of that. Like they didn't didn't go for that one first.
I kind of see like maybe, you know, Ali Hazelwood is sort of in the medical field. She's like a PhD for like neuroscience. And so maybe she's kind of like trying to explore this idea, you know, that women often, and like when they explain their medical symptoms, like aren't believed, you know, and like they're like really easy diagnoses get overlooked for women all the time with their doctors because you have these like stupid assumptions or whatever. So like maybe that's kind of what she's going for, but again, like that's not really talked about, and so it just didn't feel like the plot was fully holding together for me.
Yes.
And then on top of the just like the massive plot hole in and of itself, then you add in the fact that it's this like this concept that for me, I don't read werewolf books, so like this is a brand new concept for me, and I know that it's really common in werewolf books. I've like learned that through TikTok, thank you. But for me, I'm like just now getting introduced to it, and I'd like it was a little much. Like if they had truly just kept referring to it as the scientific name, I would have been fine. But like all in my head the whole time, I'm just thinking
just
about
when they called it heat.
Like, oh my god. It's ruining the fantasy for me, if that makes sense. But then, okay, but all of that being said, I still freaking ate it up. Like, you know, I read the book in like 2 days. So like, you know, I think at one point I sent Nicole a text message that was like, it was at like 2 a.m, and I was like, okay, well, I have to keep listening. This plot is ridiculous, but also I love it. So what am I supposed to do?
I didn't have an issue with the heat plot. I actually thought that was a really fun time. As soon as she was kind of like, oh, I'm dying. Oh no. Like, I'm like, clearly she's not going to die. Like clearly got something to do with something else. So when it kind of twisted that it was this, she was in heat, I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. Especially because we've just found out that he's taken a vow of celibacy because that was probably the plot point where I was Yeah.
That's perfect to me. The fact that he's taken a vow of celibacy and now she absolutely has to be fucked in order to like not die. Perfect. Perfection. I just did not like the way that like they didn't know about it. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no. But it is true. It does feel like even that plot was a little bit pushed in because other werewolf clans have like abolished that and got rid of it and said, yeah, you can get married, that's all fine. But this Northwest clan, no, they still follow the traditional rules and they haven't done any changes till now. And not even during this process do they go, do you think we need to review this? Like, does it still matter? But it would make an interesting book. So it was a really fun time to have him finding out that the reason that there's this massive slow burn is because he's actually intentionally pushing her away because he knows he can't do anything with her, which was super, super fun. I think I left my brain at the door for this one. I was just so entertained by the banter, by just Ali being Ali and just giving us this witty, funny, self-deprecating characters, the banter between Cohen and Serena. I just loved it. And I just literally forgave everything around it because I was just having a great time. And then when I found out she was in heat, I was honestly just so relieved that she wasn't dying and that now they were going to get it on for like 3 to 5 days. I was just happy. I was just like,
and like it might be because I was in the middle of like an intense Daniel Jensen book and then went to this and then came back, but like maybe it just my calibration, you know what I mean, was a little bit off. So that could be part of it for sure. That I just like it was harder for me to like shut my brain off. But I did kind of guess from I didn't know that it was like she was going into heat, but I guessed kind of from the beginning that it was going to be something where basically she was having these symptoms because I thought it was going to be because like they hadn't accepted the mating bond, you know, because like I'm such a fae kind of fantasy person.
Yeah,
Like, okay, they're going to accept the mating bond and then she'll be okay,
physically ill.
Exactly. And then when it added this like extra component, I was like, okay, cool. And then the thing, like, honestly, though, when we found out that he had a like vow of celibacy, that's where I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And I love it. I'm here for it. It's so ridiculous, but in the best kind of way.
Well, I think that something I found really, I guess I asked a question about though, was because one of the things they spoke about in this was that she was his mate, but it wasn't reciprocated, which I found myself the whole time going, are they really not mates? Like, are they? And it's just that she's only got half of it because she's a half werewolf. And I think it actually, especially with my second read through that I'm doing now, it has made me wonder because so many of her feelings towards Cohen are symptoms of her heat. And I found myself going, is it because of the heat that she's having these feelings? Or is it because he's her mate that she's having these feelings? Or is it just because they're developing the heat as well as a strong bond? What are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like they are actually mates, like reciprocal?
Oh, they are. And it does. They briefly talk about this, I think at like the very end. And it's easy to gloss over because it's like, there's like a lot going on. But like she says to him, like, I think you are actually my mate. And he was like, yeah, no, of course I am. Duh. Like seeing, like literally meeting me one time sent you into heat. Like, of course, like that, of course I'm your mate. And that, but again, I do think that like, that's another kind of element that us as fantasy readers really wish had been explained more kind of front of mind. And that's where, again, I think like it helps me understand why some people don't like these books, because if you really, really love fantasy, you're like, there's all these things that are left kind of unexplored and they're not deep enough. And I think that's definitely one of them is like, what does the mating bond mean for them? And I think the whole point is that this is like what I'm inferring, but I don't think this is like super on the page, that like the mating bond is just a little bit different for her because she is half human. She's a hybrid. And so like Cohen says, like Cohen in the beginning, Cohen's like, you're not my mate. And she's like, well, how do you know? And he's like, trust me, you would know. And it's like, well, maybe not. Like she probably just doesn't know because she didn't grow up with wolves and she's like a human. So,
and a bit like everything else for her, it's sometimes a diluted version of what it would really be. And because she kind of likes him. She's like, he's not my normal type, but I am quite I feel very calm around him and that. But he's like, oh, that's just because I'm an alpha. But then she's like, oh, but how I feel around you is completely different to how I feel around Lo. So we instantly see that there is a difference to how she feels around Cohen compared to any other. And we see that develop as she obviously as they go on their journey together, as she comes into Heat and they're having all this banter and that. But there's so much more to their relationship than just that. That's kind of the physical side. But then there's the whole emotional, mental side, the back and forth between the two characters that's really, really beautiful. And just seeing him just like everyone's like scared of him. He's like this really highly respected but slightly scary alpha character, and then he's just such a agreeable sort of puppy dog for her. Like she's just there shaving him, and they're just like, wait, he's allowing you to shave near his neck? And she's just like, yeah, what's it to you? Like, what do you mean? Like, of course he is. Like, you know.
And you know, and like you say to him like stay seated and he does, like what the heck, like that's crazy. And I just, what I love about this is that he's such a different alpha than Lo. Like Lo is so, I mean, he is sort of like an alpha, he is kind of in charge, but he's not like alpha with like a capital A, whereas that's what we get with Cohen, you know, like he definitely is like, you're gonna listen to me. And like there's a couple of scenes, you know, where he's like, do not run, because if you run right now, like that's gonna be so bad for you. And I just like eat that stuff up. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Lo's kind of like a modern alpha. He's sort of, you know, intelligent. He's like an architect. I don't know. He's Whereas Cohen is like your manly animal alpha. Like he's the kind of alpha that we always expect when we're reading a werewolf book. Right. And he is pure male, pure power, and yet he softens for her, which is just the best.
But then like I love that this idea that he's been alpha since he was 15. And so for him, like what it means to be an alpha is so much about like taking care of people and like doing what they need, you know. Like I think at one point he's like kind of telling her what like is happening to her, and she's like, well, how do you know? And he's like, I've had to have the sex talk a lot because I'm the alpha. And I thought that was so sweet. I just love that.
All right, so I have to ask, how would you compare Serena and Cohen to Lo and Misery from book 1? What do you think were some of the differences, and how did you feel they were?
I think, I mean, definitely it's more this kind of like primal thing, definitely more, you know, she sort of pushes his buttons in a way that Misery kind of does that. But I feel like with Misery and Lo, it's more of a, like it's like their intellect in many ways meeting, and like they definitely like have like that physical connection, but it's not as much about the physical connection between the two of them.
Yeah, well, it was a real interspecies romance because she was a vampire and he was a werewolf, and then a whole part of their growth journey was exploring the differences of the two, and then how they work together, and how they, and the forced proximity and the arranged marriage and things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas
and it's a more emotional, intellectual relationship, I would say. Like just like you know, a lot of the journey between them is their like kind of emotional journey to one another. Like he, you know, Lo falls in love with her because of how she treats the little sister, and like those kind, and you know, and like that she eats peanut butter, and like it, you know, that he finds these unexpected things about her, which I think is a much more kind of like emotional type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there's not like an emotional connection between Cohen and Serena.
But they also followed more of an enemies to lovers trope because they were really enemies from different species, different, you know, there was a very arranged marriage. They didn't like each other much at the beginning, and Misery's just having to live in this world where no one really likes her and everyone's scared of her and things like that. Whereas with Serena and Cohen, it was a real werewolf romance. We had that real, just really delving deeper into the werewolf clans and what that was all about. We have a very alpha male. We're now dealing with a half werewolf. So then I guess the complexities of some of the physical challenges that she has with that. But we're dealing more with like, I feel like it was like a forced distancing with them because of the vow of celibacy and things like that. He was pushing her away rather than bringing her closer. And then we just saw that it was more of an exploration of Mate's connection, which I love Mate. I love Mate so much. So I just ate that up 100-fold.
Yes. Yeah. And then like when I realized that like okay, because of this heat, we're gonna have like 5 days of this. I was like, okay, I'm excited. I'm into this.
Oh my God. Can we talk for a moment about the fact that, because I have some friends that are really into spice readers. Like, it's got to be hot and heavy. Like, it needs to be 3 chili peppers plus for them to actually pick up a book. So I'm here going to them, right, there are at least 3 chapters of full spice. One of those chapters on my audiobook goes for 45 minutes. I'm like, and it's all spice. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you guys will be fine. I'm pretty sure you'll be happy. And mind you, I will say that one of them still turned to me and she was still not satisfied. She was like, I was still not satisfied with this spice, Nicole.
I
Did
would have
not meet my expectations.
I personally, as much as like I was very much happy with what we got, I would have appreciated a little ginger candy throughout. I didn't really feel like there was a lot of, I guess there was a little bit once she actually kind of was in heat, but before that, there was no ginger candy when they were in the like, there was no ginger candy. I know. You have to like really know this podcast to know what I'm saying. If this is your first time listening, sorry. No, I'll explain it in a minute. But I'll explain it in a minute. But there was no ginger candy when they were sort of when in the time where he was like pushing her away. And I would have really loved that. I would have loved to like
really taken this vow of celibacy. No, we didn't get anything until he caught her with the raging temperature in the bath, and he realizes that she's going into heat. Like, he licks the back of her neck and he goes, oh, and then some spicy time occurs. But assisted,
and that's like halfway through the book, so maybe even a little over halfway. So
halfway. We're around chapter 25. So we're pretty much in the last third of the book before we get anything. So you are looking at a slow burn here. They really don't do anything because he's pushing her away so much. They really don't do anything. They're more just developing on an emotional level. Like, she gets through to him by being super loving, and she actually becomes the mother of all the werewolves because she loves to cook, and then they all really bond with her and they really like her, and so not only is he falling for her, but the whole clan is falling for her. And I don't even know if werewolves are called clans, but for some reason I've just kind of gone into that, so I'm just going to stick with it for now. But yeah, they all sort of fall in love with her.
Yeah. So if you are just because now that I'm like going to all these like book events to sell my book, I like tell people about the podcast. So what I mean by candy, I know, right? Is like ginger, right, is spicy, but only a little spicy. So we have this like silly saying on this podcast that a little ginger candy is just like a little treat, just a little, like they kiss or they like touch foreheads or something like that. Anyway, I will say, sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
It's an intimate spicy moment without it being official spice. It's just like to get you through to the proper spice where, they have a moment where they're drunk and things start to happen, and then they quickly come out of it and go, oh, wait, no, I hate you. And then they, it gives us a little something before the epic event at the end of the book.
Exactly. There was no ginger candy here.
No ginger candy.
One of my favorite parts about when like the pack like falling in love with her in the seconds is when she's like talking to Amelia, I think is her name, and they're like, oh, mom and dad are fighting or something like that. And she was like, am I mom or dad? And she's like, Amelia's like, you can be either. She's like, fine, I'm dad, he's mom. And then like for the rest of the book they refer to them in that way. I love that. I thought that was so cute.
I love that
like,
so much.
Those are the kinds of things that made me like really, really like Serena. She's so funny, she's so self-deprecating, just so like the classic, Ali
you can just relate to her so much. She's I can relate to her myself. I also wanted to be my best friend, and I love the friendship that her and Misery have with each other. And I love that when she's writing like her death letters, she's writing it out and she's like, I need Lo to know the things that like he needs to be prepared for Misery. Like, she uses big words that she doesn't actually understand, and he needs to know that. And I'm there thinking, I do that. I also do that.
Music tastes so bad. You can't let her just listen to her bad music for the rest of her life. Like, and like they're so cute. I would love like a backstory story of the two of them. Like, of them wouldn't that be so cute?
That would be so cute. Moment,
I don't often, like when I'm listening to audiobooks, like I have to really, really like love something to like actually laugh out loud. And there's only like one moment that I actually laughed out loud listening to this. And it's at the very end when Serena's in the hospital and her and Misery were kind of fighting. Misery's like, I'm so pissed at you. Then they kind of make up. And then Misery's like, okay, do we need to cut each other's toenails and talk about nodding now? So funny. Like, made me crack up. The idea that, like, they're going to cut each other's toenails. I don't know. So funny. Loved it.
No, I love them. I love them so much. I think Serena and Misery are the best thing about, well, almost, I mean, I do love Cohen as well, but they're really the best thing about these two books. I just, their characters. I mean, I thought Misery was so funny. And then I feel like Serena even possibly took it up a notch, being even funnier.
Yeah.
And they're just so lovable, and they're intelligent and witty and self-deprecating, and I just couldn't get enough of them. They were really, really fun, and I would happily take any prequels, further books after this, because I definitely want to keep seeing more of them. They were super, super fun.
Me too. But this is, even though I didn't like this book as much as Bride, still a 5-star read for me. I would still reread it. And like, I have to love a book to be willing to reread it. I would reread both of these just for fun, right? Not, you know, I reread a lot of books for us and for the podcast to, like, you know, for theory building and stuff. Like, I would just reread these books on a random Tuesday because I like them and want to experience them again.
I have been re-listening to this because I wanted to keep it fresh. And honestly, it was a joy to put it back on my Audible and listen to it again. It's just as enjoyable second time around, just as funny. It's like watching a rom-com on TV. And that's what I love about Ali. It's something that she has this amazing ability to do, is give you that feeling of watching one of your favorite rom-coms. You never get tired of it. You just love the characters, love the story. It's always got a bit of depth to it. Even though it's a light one-off story, you've got these depth of these intelligent characters and the way she just creates these romances, but always for these really intelligent characters, and they're just so lovable, which is why we love
How
Ali.
can we give, like, Teddy Hamilton, come on, as Cohen, just so good.
That voice was amazing. And I actually didn't love him quite as much in, I think it was Caught Up. I think, I don't know.
Yeah. No, he did Lights Out. No, he did Caught Up. You're right.
Yeah, like, I loved Lights Out. I was not as impressed with Caught Up. It was fine, but it didn't quite capture me the way
man, that's what I'm gonna read next. So I hope I like it. But
oh, well, you'll have to come back to me and say he's also in that. So but I loved him as Cohen. I thought he was so funny. The back and forth, like the Audible book is amazing. It's so good. And I think that's part of why I enjoyed it so much, was because of how well it was delivered. Love a dual narration.
Yes. And like that the only thing about Teddy Hamilton that, just like side note, he doesn't have a ton of like range in terms of different characters. Like, he basically has the same voice
character.
Exactly. And it's like, it's a great voice, but there's not so like, as he was voicing other male characters throughout the book, I got a little confused. It's still him, you know? And so
wait, is this Cohen?
Not Cohen. Like, why sexy if not sexy character? Why sexy voice if not sexy character?
That's all right. I can forgive it because it's worth it when he comes on like, I'm gonna say on screen, on listening on headphones as Cohen. All right, let's talk about the plot and the pacing of this story. How did you feel? So you spoke about the plot around the heat trope, but what about the rest of it? What did you think of, obviously, a lot of sort of the, I guess, the story that had to be there, so it wasn't just purely about werewolves and heat and mate's connection, was about Serena finding out who she really was and where she came from. What was your thoughts on that part of the story?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to sort of criticize an Ali Hazelwood kind of pacing, especially because I think that's like the craft of like stringing scenes together is one of the things that I think she's the best at. The cult thing was fine to me. Like, I kind of felt like it came a little bit out of nowhere, but that's whatever. I liked it. I thought it was fun, you know, and it really added to the emotional kind of dynamic between them, that, like, you know, not only is Cohen celibate, but he's celibate for like this emotional reason, because like his mother chose his father and they ended up murdered. And then you find out that that person, you know, her father, Serena's father's who murdered them. And then he Cohen murdered her father. I mean, like, just, you know, kind of like soap opera type stuff really here.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't mind that at all, actually. I thought it was fine. What about you?
Yeah, I probably sit in the I didn't hate it, I didn't love it sort of category. It was fine. It was, you know, filling in some story and adding drama necessary for kind of the rest of the story to evolve. Did I think it was necessary? Sort of not. It was fine. It was like, I feel like it was fine. I don't mind because I mainly loved the connection between Cohen and Serena, and it was just kind of a filler kind of story for me. But I think it was interesting to explore that Serena had this quite dark history that she had somewhat escaped from and she didn't know about, and then sort of exploring that obsession. And then, of course, because also she's this hybrid, that it actually came in a fairly nefarious way. I don't know if it was explored enough what that impact of her parentage actually had on Cohen. I know he's her mate, and that would make him then feel automatically connected to her. But her father was also like a really bad guy who hurt his mum and his dad. And you know, part of me was like, did that need to be explored a little bit more about how that had actually affected him? And was that, because in some books, that would be a deal breaker. It would be like, based on your parents, I hate you, you know, that would be where they would go. But yet that's quickly brushed over in this.
Yeah. The other thing that, like, I didn't mind this, like, cult plot. The one thing that did sort of feel like this kind of, like, dropped in kind of piece of the plot is the vampires wanting to kill her. It just, so, like, actually, technically, it starts with she's getting all these, like, vampires trying to come after her because the vampire court has now there's somebody in the vampire court that is has ordered a hit out on her, basically, is what they find out. And so the whole reason she goes with Cohen is to, like, lure people in a place where she'll be safe. And then once she's with Cohen, that just, like, basically goes away, and they never bring it up again. And, like, once the cult plot line starts, it just goes away. And there's, like, one tiny thing at the end that's like, oh yeah, did the vampires, like, are they still after me? And it's like, nope, we figured that out, off page, cool. So that again, like, those are
a little bit.
A couple, it's like that with, like, you put that with the whole, like, they didn't know that she was going to the heat, and there's just a couple of holes, a couple of things that feel like they
could have been tied up just a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look, I mean, do we really mind? Like, when we read Ali Hazelwood, do we really care about all those little side things that are just there to really create drama? Not really, but it is nice to have them wrapped up in a way where you just feel really satisfied by the ending, and you're like, yes, it all made sense. It all tied together in a way that worked and benefited. And
that's just, like, to me, the difference between Bride and Maid. Like, Bride, for me, everything is, like, tied up in this perfect bow. It's like, you know, all these branches of a tree just, like, moving together, and they all just kind of culminate in this, like, perfect kind of, like, thing at the end. And it just didn't quite have that same level of cohesion and almost, like, scientific kind of coalescing, I guess, a little bit of the plot.
Yeah. Okay. One of my gripes that I have, maybe with both of these books, I feel like it needs to be sorted out at some point, is all this, like, inability to get pregnant. Now, I know everyone hates a pregnancy trope, and I'm actually gonna sit here and be like, I actually don't mind a pregnancy trope, okay? I sometimes like when it leads to pregnancy, all right? I actually don't mind, as long as it's done well. And honestly, I haven't read a book that's had a pregnancy trope in about 5 years, because no one does them anymore. So I'm almost missing them.
When the moon hatched.
Oh, yes. But then there was, like, it was in the past. It was like, you know, so it wasn't like that end, like, oh, guess what? We're pregnant. Like, no. So it already been done. Okay. But, like, so in the last one, they can't get pregnant because she's a vampire and he's aware. And I just want to, like, be like, oh, snap. Yes, you can.
I know. Well, and then the fact that there are hybrids between werewolves and humans. Correct. It's like, there should be hybrids between vampires and that. And especially because that, like, it's a thing that everyone thinks that, like, there can't be these, like, interspecies, like, babies. It's like, okay, come on, there needs to be an interspecies baby. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that.
Exactly. I really want to see a little were-vampire. Like, is that so bad? I want to see that. It'd be cute.
not in the same way that I guess it's not really done in Twilight, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want, like,
Oh my
I don't
God.
want
That's like the most traumatic. That's like the most traumatic pregnancy trope of all time.
yeah.
Worst.
And then, okay, sorry, this is just like a side note, like the movies that like animatronic doll that they have to play the baby.
That was terrifying.
I think you guys can tell that our wine is hitting us both.
Exactly. The way that the doll's head's just like
exactly.
And they're like, oh, it's the most beautiful baby in
like,
the world.
like its eyes are really wide and it blinks at like a non-human pace. It will like sit there. It's so creepy. Okay.
And then I think even when the girl came in and actually took over, we were so like it didn't improve much because it was just like we were so used to that we were just still like freaked out by the doll.
However, okay, I trust that Ali Hazelwood would not traumatize us, and there can and should be. I am actually with you. As somebody who hates a pregnancy trope, I'm with you that it makes sense for this story. And like, they're both just somehow infertile. Like, okay.
Yeah, so like in this one, they're like, oh, because she's like a hybrid, she probably won't be able to have babies. And then she's like, oh God, that's like really full. And okay, I get it. There might be a like mutation of genes or whatever that has led to this, that like it's probably scientific reasons that Ali's gone into it. But I'm like, well, that's kind of sad. And I'm like, well, she's like half wolf. Like if a human can get pregnant to a wolf, well then surely a half would have even better chance of having a pregnancy with a wolf. And yeah, so anyway, that was like,
would not be surprised if she did another book and Serena is having a baby, because it's brought up a lot, actually. Like it's brought up several times that Serena wants kids and like really
and like
herself as a mother.
The heat is meant to increase the chances of pregnancy, which is quite rare for werewolves. And while she's given birth control, we never get any confirmation of whether she actually goes ahead with it, because she actually says she really loves the idea of babies.
Yeah.
So but we don't know if we'll get another book. So
maybe so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying no. That's for sure. I would read it. I don't even need a plot, like I'm kind of fine with just like a little novella where she's pregnant and he's like all alpha over like taking care of her, and then they still have sexy time. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then baby's born,
I know,
that's all.
Don't hate me. I know why we don't like pregnancy tropes, but when thrown in at the right time after some serious spicy time that feels like babies would be made in those particular events, I'm like okay with, oh no, I accidentally got pregnant. Let's just go with this now. So anyway, let's see if we ever get any pregnancy tropes in the future, because no one writes them anymore. So yeah, that was maybe one of my only just little gripe feelings about these stories. But so how did you feel about the ending of Mate? Did you feel like it all got tied together? We've obviously talked about a few of the plot holes that maybe happened, but I guess what did you even think of the romance perspective that she goes through this heat and then Cohen's just like, I'm giving up my alpha position. I'm gonna leave, Northwest.
Yeah. I love that, actually. I love that because it would have been really easy for her, for the book to just be like, okay, great. They like the council or whatever, I can't remember what it's called. The group of kind of the ruling clans.
Counselors. Yeah. The leaders.
The counselors. It could be really easy to be like, oh, the counselors saw how much Cohen loves you and we're good with it. Like it would have been really easy to do that. And I love that he is sort of like, no, I'm gonna step down. And then I love that she's like, don't you dare. Like, I will not allow that. And then they kind of go through all this other stuff after the fact. I actually really loved that. And I liked, and I knew how it was going to resolve. I knew that it was going to be like, oh, the council saw that, like, you can still have her at risk. You can make logical decisions. Like, you're not, loving her isn't going to make you put the pack over or under us or whatever. Yeah. But I like the way that it had a little bit more nuance to it. What about you?
And that she had proven that she was going to be this great leader for, that she was also going to be a great mate's wife. Because
Mhm.
she actually did
Love that.
put, even though she was so in love with him, she still put the, the
She
clan
herself put the pack
above
over,
their relationship. She was like, no, even though I won't let you step down, you're too important,
Yeah.
you have to let me go. And so she really
Mhm.
proved herself to everyone. Even he, I think there was a great beginning, one of the chapters. It was like she would make a perfect
Mate's wife
lead
or Alpha's
leader,
wife. Yeah, Alpha's
alpharess.
Alpharess. Alpharess. I love that.
Mm,
Um, I actually here's one thing that I thought it was gonna happen and then didn't. I
mhm.
thought when I was first learning about the kind of cult, I thought that the cult was gonna maybe be bigger than we realized. It was gonna be like, 500, couple thousand people, and
Yeah.
that she was gonna be the rightful alpha of that branch.
Yeah, it would have been
And that
fun.
by them being together, they were going to be able to sort of like unite these two like opposing forces. And they still kind of did that. Like in a way, like she did kind of bring a lot of the cult members kind of into the pack, like that one young girl and everything. But I kind of thought there was going to be more of like she was actually an alpha in her own right. And
Mhm.
I would have really liked that a little bit, that they were sort of like two alphas being together. That would have been cool. But
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of thinking that perhaps the cult had actually figured out a way to procreate humans and werewolves. That they were actually
yeah,
going to be like, no, we
yeah,
figured out a way to do it. So
yeah,
they were
yeah.
going
And it
to.
wasn't actually a
No,
mutation
it
thing.
was just
And,
this miracle that basically he slept with enough females that eventually one got pregnant, which
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
quite as exciting as the idea that he might have figured out a way to actually do it. So I
Which,
think
like,
that
if that had been how the story went, then like maybe she could have used that information to then be able to actually get pregnant herself as
exactly.
like a
Correct.
human character.
Correct. Well, and I think that in this world, and while I obviously understand Ali is a very scientific person and she probably wants to explore that, um, it would be kind of, because we've got all these interspecies, it would be nice to find out that they have found a scientific way to actually cross over species, that there's particular things that can be influenced or done, or certain people have more of an affinity to having interspecies, partners or whatever it might be. It just would be a fun thing to explore, but that didn't really get explored, which is
Yeah.
fine. But that was just where I thought it might have gone, and it didn't.
Yeah, I know. I just like I wish Allie would write series. I really do. Like I just like I because she's just so good at tying things together that
Yeah.
it just makes me be like, how incredible would a like true fantasy series be from her? Where like, she's laying Easter eggs for things that are coming 5 books later. Like she'd be so good at it. I just like I
She
don't
would
understand.
be. She would be. It's actually a really interesting point you raise. And I wonder whether Ali will ever venture into romantasy officially and
Mm,
writing a proper 3-book series, 3, 5 books,
yes.
whatever it might be, a big epic world, because she does love it too. Like her first book was based off a Dramani fanfic that she wrote. Like that
Yeah.
was where she got her first book that's now been turned into a movie. She likes those sort of epic romances, Harry Potter, all that sort of thing. I could see her doing it. And I think she'd do a sensational job of it. And
I
I feel
think
like
she
she's done
would.
so much now in this typical romance comedy sort of genre that she's done now. And I get that she obviously has a huge fan base, that she needs to deliver those books. But I also hope that these books have been her opening up to new
I hope so too.
genres,
Yeah.
and that she might do something that's bigger.
And I do think that the crossover is so much wider these days. Like, I feel like probably maybe when she first got started, it was really hard to get romance or rom-com readers to really read Romantasy and vice versa. But I feel like the crossover these days is just like people read it all. Like we're
Mhm.
all just like for a well-written romance, it doesn't really matter to me like what the genre is. If it's a rom-com, if it's fantasy, if it's paranormal, whatever. So I'm with you. I really hope that this is her kind of like crossing over, starting to get excited about world building, and then, maybe even proving to her publisher, like, look, there is people who will do both. And I think she would be so good at, laying and all those little pieces that have a really great payoff from a world building type of thing. I think she'd be excellent at it. I really do.
I think the only thing I would wonder is whether she would do more of a modern romantasy, because a lot of the humor, a lot of the things, they tend to be quite modern. She obviously uses a lot of science, a lot of just modern styles of talking about things that it makes the current book so rich and delicious and wonderful to read. But I wonder if she would have the same ability if it was a more of a typical romantasy that's more set back in a more period timepiece. I know I found this struggle myself writing one. You go to write things and you realize that that's a modern phrase and you can't use it, so you have to change it. I'm sure she's like talented enough that she could absolutely do that.
I would be so into an urban fantasy, an urban romantasy, kind of like a Crescent City, where you can still bring in science and science and technology can still be part of that world. And I think she would do that really, really well.
I agree.
I'd be super into it.
And I actually don't feel, and you guys, you may know of a really good one that you'll be like, no, you got to do this. But I actually don't think we've seen a really epic urban fantasy. I mean, Crescent City for me is probably the closest, and I don't even think that's Sarah J. Maas's best work. So I feel like Ali and what she would potentially deliver would be insane. It would be so good.
Yeah,
so.
I think a lot of more diverse authors do it. Like a lot of Black authors write very, very excellent urban fantasies, urban romantasies. But the blending with the technology and the science is the piece that I don't think there's a lot of, and that I think Ali would do so well, like so well. Yes. And I am I just like, I'm so hungry for it. I just want it. I would read anything. I would read anything.
I know. It's just because she creates such good characters and such lovable characters. So I would love to see a character like Serena be taken on a whole, 3-book series journey, 5-book series journey. She's a good enough character that she could easily carry that. So
you're always left for my favorite Ali Hazelwood books, right? You're always left being like, I don't want this to end. I want more time with these characters, and even when you get like, books in the same world, I still didn't feel like I got enough Misery and Low. Like I want more from them too. So and then, maybe it's just that like because she is like a neuroscientist and has like this whole other job and career, like, she just doesn't really have time to like, have these kind of like she needs her projects to kind of wrap up and be done. But at some point, maybe she'll do something.
I know. Hopefully. All right. What is your favorite thing about Mate? What was your favorite thing about this book?
The spice. Mm-hmm. The spice. Not just the spice, but like the moment that like from the point that he was like, I'm gonna see you through your heat no matter what, despite all my commitments, that I couldn't put it down. I was like, I have to finish it. It was like I got to that point at midnight and I was like, I'm listening for 2 more hours. I'm just gonna stay up, laying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, playing like stupid games on my phone.
There is like a 45-minute chapter that is all spice scene in this. I thought it was fabulous. I thought it was some spicy time.
But it's really varied for like 5 days of spice with nodding. There's enough variation to keep it interesting, I will say.
And there's some exploration of how that nodding is used that is interesting, like just different to something I've read before. It was just a really fun time. It was fun. It was hot. It was spicy. Obviously, we'd had this slow burn with these characters, so having that payoff and then being delivered so thoroughly was just great. It was the feeling I had when we read Spark of the Everflame. My biggest frustration, quickly guys, spoilers if you haven't read this series, but when we finally, after 4 freaking books, like how many books have we got? 3 books that we finally hit the spice. I was so over it. And then it was like, we had this really nice one spice scene, and then that was it. And we'd been so deprived for so long.
And there was no ginger candy along the way. Not any ginger candy. Well, maybe a little ginger candy, but not enough.
No. It just felt like a dry desert of non-spice.
You are gonna torture me with slow burn. you better pay it off. And I did feel that this was a long slow burn, like for, there was a lot of slow burn here, and I did feel that it was a good payoff. I felt like
I was
it
very satisfied.
really delivered. I was very satisfied. I was very happy. It was, and it wasn't vanilla, but it also was emotional. Like it was good.
Yeah,
And it
there
was
were
different
multiple
even though you have
scenes.
the nodding, even like the way that it happened to two people who didn't know what it was happened differently between bride and mate. And I liked that. I didn't want a repeat of how it went in the other books. And I thought that was great.
It's so funny because I've got these friends that love werewolf romance, and they got me to read this other book called Rabid that is, in their opinion, the epitome of werewolf spice books. And this has nodding, and it has a very specific type of nodding where to get it to go down, you have to milk it to get it to go down.
Sorry. Again, you can love what you love. I'm sorry, my face. It didn't sound great to me, but I'm sure I would love it if I read it.
I was like, but I personally, because I read it after this, I still preferred what we got in May to that.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh, it's going to be, I didn't think it was that impressive. Whereas I felt, I really liked the spice in Mate. And maybe it was because I loved the characters so much that I loved them having that connection, and there was a slow burn and there was this epic payoff. But I just felt like it was fresh. It was engaging. It was just, I really enjoyed it. And sometimes I get to spice scenes, and if I'm not into it, I'm skipping them or I'm rushing through them. So I'm like, it's not really doing it for me. But this was so engaging. I was mesmerized an entire 45 minutes, let me tell you.
And can we just compare, because I have had wine that I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Can we just compare the way that the nodding happened with Lo versus Cohen? Because like the whole time that Misery and Lo are like hooking up, right? We have lots of ginger candy in Bride, and Lo is like, we can't actually have sex. We can't go all the way, right? Because I'll hurt you. And Misery's like, what do you mean? And he's just like so afraid of doing it. He's like, you don't understand. There's this thing, and you're not biologically capable. And she's like, well, can we just try? And he's like, no. And then they try, and it's fine. Cohen just goes for it. He's like, oh, you didn't know what that was? Stop. You're stuck here.
Oh well.
Like, I thought that was so, it's just like, I was like, because we're like waiting for it to happen in the spice scene, and I know that Serena doesn't know because Misery tries to tell her about it, and Serena's like, okay, gotta go, bye.
But like,
so,
at the same time,
like, is he gonna tell her? He's not gonna tell her? He's not gonna find
at the same
out?
time, she is somewhat genetically capable of doing it, because I mean, there was so many scenes talking about her level of wetness and her preparation for the heat.
I know.
And she's so embarrassed about it. She's like, oh my God, I'm so wet. And he's like, no, that's a good thing. He's like, we're going to need that. And I actually like it. It smells good for me. Okay.
We're getting a little more crass in this episode than we usually do.
This is like our X-rated.
Like this. We should always drink wine to talk about these things. Maybe that'll just
needed it for this one.
We talk about werewolf books. We'll always have wine if we talk about werewolf books. Wine and werewolves.
Yeah, wine and werewolves. Yeah. Because it's always a little bit extra spicy. But look, it was fun for me. Well, Bride was the first experience of nodding that I ever had.
I
was a nodding virgin.
I was too. I totally was too. I was like, oh, I don't often find new things in Romantasy. I just had never, I don't know why, but werewolf books had never really done it for me. I think, and this is so dumb, but like, I acknowledge that this is dumb and like not fair at all. But in my head, it was just like, it's just Twilight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just always associated them with Jacob, and I was never Team Jacob. And so I was like, I want to like a werewolf book. And
then sometimes I'm like worried.
Hamlin and Jacob, those were like my two like experiences of wolves.
Yeah, and then sometimes I'm worried how far into it they're gonna go. Like, are we going to get like a interspecies spice scene? Which I don't know how I feel about that. I'm like, I kind of want them to both morph into humans. Like, and that was one of the things in Rabid. There was almost a scene where there were like wolves, and I was a bit like, I don't know how I feel about this. It feels a bit.
I was wondering if that was going to happen in me. And I was kind of glad that it didn't. Again, I know
Yeah.
I've never really read it. I've never really read one, so I can't actually say if I
No.
like it or not. So,
I say this with a straight face while also having just watched Frankenstein and being like, I would totally sleep with Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein. Just FYI.
Yeah. I haven't, I mean, honestly, because you and I are such classic Romantasy fans, I feel like, we haven't really either of us explored a ton of some of the other genres. Like neither of us have read, as far as I know, a ton of monster romance. We haven't read, you're really starting to read a lot of werewolf stuff now.
Yeah.
But like we haven't, because we've just always really loved our fae and loved our magic and those kinds of things, and haven't explored a lot of that other stuff. But with the dry spell that is classic kind of fae romantasy at the moment, what are we supposed to do? We have to read other things.
And we've obviously had some great books come out that have introduced us to these worlds, which has been like The Wolf King, The Night Prince, Bride, and Mate, like these books that kind of transition you over without taking you fully into it, but introduce you to the genre, and then you can decide if you want to keep going, which I'm curious.
Okay, wait. I just had a thought. This is such a side note. Instead of reading Caught Up next, should I read Kiss of the Basilisk next?
Yes. Yes, because the next one's just about to come out. And it's
is
like,
it?
yes, it's great timing. Oh my God. You have to read The Kiss of the Basilisk. It's so good. It's so spicy and it's so.
I thought on yourself, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to do that, and then we can do an episode on it. So stay tuned, listeners.
I'm looking really forward to the sequel, but I've also seen some, because ARCs went out like this last week, and a few big, Instagrammers, bookstagrammers did it, and they've kind of gone, oh man, like the first book is like, it's spicy, but it's actually still got this great romantasy story. I was not expecting much. My expectations were low, and I was still I really enjoyed it. It was really great. But yeah, the next book's even another level up, so we'll see. But yes, definitely read that. That was definitely I really enjoyed that last year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, do it.
Kind of lost the plot here on me.
Yeah. All right. Let's pull it back. Okay, so we talked about our favorite thing about Mate. We've already discussed it a little bit, but let's confirm it. Areas that could be improved. What did you think could have been improved in this book?
So for me, I just don't ever refer to it as heat ever again. Just use the scientific term. Let's try whatever it is, that E word. The vampire plot line, make it a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I don't know that there's much else. I mean, the spice was, to me, like 10 out of 10. I didn't think it needed anything different. Maybe add some ginger candy along the way, but like, other than that, it really was, this is still a 5-star read for me. So
Yep.
What about you?
Same. I feel like, for me, it was so perfect. I just adored their romance. Only thing for me was that she thought she was going to die and they didn't click, that it was the heat. Just felt silly for me. I felt like we could have had a bit more of that her symptoms were different to any heat before, that they didn't actually click that it could be a heat. And I think there just could have been a bit more difference between what she was experiencing and what the average the average werewolf would experience, so that it made more sense that they didn't click that it actually could be that. I think that would probably be my only area for improvement. I think I could go into the whole side kind of story, as you said, about the vampires, about the whole people trying to capture her and things like that. But I think that was fine. I was happy to go along with that. It didn't bother me. It didn't excite me to this massive amount, but it was sort of that drama we needed to kind of keep the book interesting and engaging. But as I said, I feel like Cohen and Serena were just amazing. They were so good. Their banter, their chemistry was just the best. And I just love Serena as a character. I could have so much more. I just could have so much more in this world. I could easily have another even just little novella where we just have Christmas and we have Misery and Low and we have Serena and Cohen and them all just hanging out together. I would just love that. So yeah.
I could have backstory. I could have I could have like a pregnancy. I would do a pregnancy kind of trope. I would do all of it. I agree. I love it.
Okay. Big question. Do you think that there is going to be another book in this series? And if so, what do you think it's going to be about?
It's really tough to say because there's not, like, it was super obvious after Bride, that there's this other couple and who they are. There's not, I guess maybe there is one potential couple, which is Amelia and the person that she's kind of on again, off again with. They didn't necessarily rise to being like a big enough couple to me that we would do another book. If there were another book, I don't see this other third couple that it could be about. And so it would maybe be about the existing couples, which would be new for Ali Hazelwood. So
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards no. I think I'm leaning towards she's done with this.
The only character that I felt like she introduced in this book that could be, for me, it was Soul. She kind of kept describing him as this really good looking character. He's sort of just one of the Northwest clan, and I wonder whether she might explore a human werewolf romance. Because we haven't had that yet. We've had, vampire, werewolf, and now maybe human wolf. That would be another one. But I can also see her just saying, no, this is a duology. It was just about Misery and Serena, and now that's done and it's finished. So yeah, there's kind of maybe one or two stories there that she could go into, but it's definitely not as clear as the last book was, that there is more to this. But yeah, Soul, I just thought stood out as just being this describing him as very good looking, getting in trouble for accidentally sort of hitting on Serena at the very beginning and stuff. I just thought, he's got to be an interesting in personality in that he could possibly carry his own story.
Yeah. The one thought I actually just had is there could also be Misery's brother, the vampire, who's now kind of like the head of the vampires now. So, because again, like for me, it's like you've got alphas, so like he is now sort of like this de facto head of the vampires.
We haven't, and we've only explored the werewolf side. We haven't explored the vampire side.
Yeah, and that could be kind of why the vampire plot has been kept so low key here. That maybe there's going to be something going on with the brother that is what kind of made it just disappear, and like maybe, something there. So I would be really into that because I just love vampire stuff. I have always loved vampire stuff. I just, I think there's something about it.
I like that. I think that's really good as well. Yeah, I could definitely see Ali continuing in this world and bring more. It's such a rich world. She could introduce so many characters and just keep it going as a series of individual characters but still in this world, which is almost similar to her other books as well, because a few of them are interconnected, where in her, I don't know if you've read many of her other books, but in Love Theoretically and Love Accident, I can't remember, they're all the Love Accidentallys, whatever, they, like, the characters kind of pop into each other's, because they're all like at the university, they're just studying different things. So yeah.
No, I think that would be, you could easily do kind of like this duology on like the werewolf side, and then you could do this like duology on the like vampire side for sure. Like I think that you could, that could be another way to go with it for sure.
Yeah. All right. So what rating would you give Mate, and what spice rating would you give it? And maybe also share what you sort of rated maybe Bride and in comparison.
Yeah. So Bride is like 6-star for me. Like Bride is a 6-star read. And then I don't know. I feel like it was maybe like 3 chili peppers. And then this 3 out of 5. 3 chili peppers out of 5. And then this is just like still a 5-star read, just not in that like next tier category. 5-star read, but not 6th tier, whatever. And then it's like more like 4 chili peppers out of 5.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I think for me, Bride was a 5-star read. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed these characters. I had no flaws with it. I thought it was a really fun time. I agree. I think it was about a 3 chili pepper rating. And then this one, I would give 5 stars for sure. I enjoy this one slightly more. I think I just really love Serena and Cohen, and I just loved their romance.
Yeah.
I had a really fun time with it. And I would probably give this 4 chili pepper rating. This was really epitome spice for me. If you want to be like, what does Nicole love for spice? This was just like the perfect amount. Not too much, not too little, but a little bit more than maybe you're like, you asked for. So like you're getting a little extra. That's just the perfect amount. Yeah, I was very happy.
Yeah, I agree.
Which like 4 sounds like it'd be a lot. I can still tell you that for people that I know that love spice, they didn't feel like there was enough in this, because I think there's that big slow burn, and yeah, but when it pays off, it thoroughly pays off. Like thoroughly. You got like 3 chapters of spice, so you got plenty to enjoy.
That's what I like. I like it to be like slow burn. You're like, come on. And then when you get there, it really pays off. I have read a lot of books that are just, kind of like fast burn, whatever. They like, there's just kind of spice throughout. And I don't dislike them or anything, but they're never as highly ranked for me as books that have a slow burn.
Exactly, because you just get emotionally invested, and so when that pays off, there's the emotional connection behind it. But I think that it doesn't just need to be one intimate moment. It's nice for them to have this whole weekend away and not just have that glossed over, like where they just show you the first scene and then the rest of it's glossed. I was kind of happy that she kept us present for this whole experience of being in heat.
Yeah, exactly. And like, her thinking that it was going away and then it didn't go away, and then for sure.
Yeah. No, it was really, really fun. No, so look, I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend this series. I think it's a really great fun time. But please share with us your thoughts and feelings. Did you love this? Which one did you love more? Do you feel like this is one of Ali Hazelwood's best books, or do you feel like some of her other sort of contemporary romances are better? Please share your thoughts and theories below. But yeah, well, I think that's all we've got time for. Have you got any final thoughts or anything, Ali, before we wrap up today?
No, I'm excited. I would love to see more, but I just love Ali Hazelwood, so I'll read anything she does.
And look, you survived with this today. We got through our werewolves and wine podcast episode. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you can, please like and subscribe. Please share with us your thoughts and feelings. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.